Welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we are going to discuss the important issues appearing in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 24th May 2019. The news to be discussed has been presented on the screen, and timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So, let's start our today's discussion. Now, yesterday, the results for the 17th Lok Sabha was announced by the Election Commission of India, in which the National Democratic Alliance, of which the BJP is a major partner, had a landslide victory. And now the NDA government will continue for another period of 5 years from the year 2019 to 2024. Now, if you go through the entire newspaper, most of the newspaper is covered with news related to election results. However, from a UPSC perspective, the entire process of elections becomes important as questions may be asked in your upcoming prelims examination. Now, this topic of election in your prelims examination gets covered under Indian Polity and Governance, as well as in your mains, it gets covered under GS paper 2, specifically with respect to important features of Indian Constitution, salient features of Representation of People's Act, as well as appointment to various constitutional posts, which also includes the election commissioners, including the Chief Election Commissioner. So, on this note, you must know about Article 83 of the Indian Constitution, which talks about the duration of the Parliament. Now, Article 83 mentions about Council of States as well as House of the People. As you all know, that Council of State is a permanent body, hence it is not subject to dissolution, where a House of the People is dissolved every 5 years, or at times even earlier if the incumbent government does not have the requisite majority in the parliament. Now, Article 83 Clause 2 says that the House of the People, that is Lok Sabha, unless sooner dissolved, shall continue for a period of 5 years from the date appointed for its first meeting, and no longer. And the expiration of the said period of 5 years shall operate as a dissolution of the House. So, this again becomes important for you to know with respect to tenure of House of People. However, the article also provides for certain extension of this period of 5 years. It says that while a proclamation of emergency is in operation, the House may be extended by Parliament by law for a period not exceeding 1 year at a time and not exceeding in any case beyond a period of 6 months after the proclamation has ceased to operate. So what it means is that if a proclamation of emergency is in operation, then House may be extended by Parliament by law for a period of 1 year. And after the proclamation has ceased to exist, the tenure of the House can no longer be more than 6 months. So this is what has been provided in Article 83 Clause 2 with respect to tenure of Lok Sabha. So this again becomes extremely important from your prelims perspective. Now, the entire process of election and various news associated with election have been covered in the Focus magazine right from January edition till May edition. As you can see, in the January edition, the electoral bond scheme was covered, which appears on page number 33 in the Focus magazine. In February, we covered about VVPAT and certain issues associated with VVPAT in the February edition. Similarly, in March, we covered about Election Commission for more autonomy as well as its financial freedom, which appears on page number 31. Now, in April and May edition of the Focus magazine, different issues associated with election process was covered, such as concern of Election Commission on electoral bonds, types of electoral system, delimitation, Supreme Court on nota, indelible ink, RTI, political parties to comply. In May, the issues covered were Election Commission on electronic media, regulation during Model Code of Conduct, Code of Ethics as per IAMAI, voting rights for under trials, service voters, returning officer, as well as types of majority. Now, another important topic which was covered in April edition was Declaration of General Elections 2019, in which various aspects on Model Code of Conduct and notification by Election Commission was discussed in detail. Further, the issue of Election Commission and various issues associated with it has also been covered in the Compass C3 magazine for Polity and Governance. So you can go through all these topics for a better understanding of the entire election process. The topics covered in C3 magazines were Nota, Section 29A of Representation of People's Act, Education as a Criteria for Local Elections, Electoral Bonds, Section 10A of Representation of People Act, Information and Communication Technology Vision Document 2025, Electronically Transmitted Postal Ballot System, a bill to allow NRIs to vote by proxy method, simultaneous elections, sweep, that is systematic voters education and electoral participation, also about Anglo Indians, as well as the VVPAT or the voter verified paper audit trial, and finally about the Election Commission of India as a constitutional body. So you can go through all these important issues highlighted in Compass C3 magazine as well as in the Focus magazine, start from January till May edition. Now, having talked about different issues covered on election commission and election process, let us also go through some of the important questions asked by UPSC in the previous years, not only with respect to election but also with respect to democracy and parliament. Now, these three questions were asked in the year of 2015. The first question says, when a bill is referred to a joint sitting of both the houses of parliament, it has to be passed by. In this, the correct answer is A, that is by a simple majority of members present and voting. The next question was, consider the following statements. Executive power of the Union of India is vested in the Prime Minister. No, the statement is incorrect as it is vested in the President of India. The next statement says, the Prime Minister is the ex officio chairman of the Civil Services Board. This again is incorrect, as Cabinet Secretary is the ex officio chairman of the Civil Services Board. So in this, the correct answer was D, that is neither 1 nor 2. Now this question said, there is a parliamentary system of government in India because the options were Lok Sabha is elected directly by the people, Parliament can amend the constitution, Raj Sabha cannot be dissolved, and Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. In this, the correct answer is D, that is, Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha, as has also been provided in Article 75, Clause 3 of the Indian Constitution. As you can read, the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the House of the People, that is, Lok Sabha. So, in this, the correct answer was D. Now, moving further, these questions were asked in the year 2017. The questions taken are, first, which of the following is not a feature of Indian federalism? So the options were, there is an independent judiciary in India. No, this is a feature of the Indian federalism. Powers have been clearly divided between center and states. No, this again is a feature of Indian federalism. The federating units have been given unequal representation in Raj Sabha. Yes, this is also correct because the representation in Raj Sabha is based on the population of a state. So this again is a feature of Indian federalism. So the last option was, it is the result of an agreement among federating units. No, it was never the result of an agreement among the federating units, because Article 1 of the Indian Constitution says that India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. So in this, the correct answer was D, as it is not a feature of Indian federalism. The next question was, the Election Commission of India is a 5-member body. No, as of now, the Election Commission of India is a 3-member body, comprising of CEC as well as 2 other election commissioners. Second option was, Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedule for the conduct of both general elections and by-elections. No, it is decided by the Election Commission of India. Third, Election Commission resolves the disputes relating to splits or mergers of recognized political parties. Yes, this statement is correct. So in this, D was the correct answer. Moving further, another important question asked was, right to vote and to be elected in India is a. Options were fundamental right, natural right, constitutional right, and legal right. Now there were certain controversies and issues related to these two options, as a process to be elected has also been provided in Representation of People Act of 1951. However, the correct answer is C, as has been provided by the UPSC. Moving further, the question says, consider the following statements. In election for Lok Sabha or State Assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of votes polled to be declared elected. No, this statement is incorrect as there is no such condition. Now, in direct elections in India, we follow the process of FPTP, that is, first past the post system, in which whichever person gets the highest number of votes is declared elected irrespective of the fact whether they have achieved certain percentage of vote or not. Suppose in a constituencies these five persons contested the election and these were the different number of votes which was garnered by these different people. In this particular person will be elected because he has received or he has secured the maximum number of votes as compared to his competitors. So the first statement is incorrect. Second, according to the provision laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, the Speaker's post goes to the majority party and the Deputy Speaker's post goes to the opposition. No, there is no such convention. So this again becomes incorrect. So in this, the correct answer is D, that is neither one nor two. Now moving further, this question was, for election to the Lok Sabha, a nomination paper can be filed by. Options were anyone residing in India, a resident of the constituency from which the election is to be contested, any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency, and any citizen of India. In this, the correct answer was C. The next question said, the Parliament of India exercises control over the functions of Council of Ministers through options were adjournment motion, question hour, and supplementary questions. In this, all the three options were correct. So the correct answer was D, that is 1, 2, and 3. Now again a question was asked on the parliamentary form of government. The question read, the main advantage of parliamentary form of government is that options were executive and the legislature work independently. Second, it provides continuity of policy and is more efficient. Third, the executive remains responsible to the legislature. Fourth, the head of the government cannot be changed without election. So if you go through the options, it talks about advantage of parliamentary form of government. Now, if you go through the previous question, it mentioned that how Parliament of India exercises control over the functions of the Council of Ministers. So again a similar concept was asked. So in this the correct answer was C, that is the executive remains responsible to the legislature or the parliament can exercise control over the Council of Ministers. Another question asked was, democracy's superior virtue lies in the fact that it calls into activity. Now let's go through the options as provided in this question. Options are intelligence and character of ordinary men and women, the methods for strengthening executive leadership, a superior individual with dynamism and vision, a band of dedicated party workers. Now this particular question was asking about democracy's superior virtue. Now we know that a democracy thrives by more participation of people in a democracy. And in the recent Lok Sabha 2019 election, the Election Commission said that it witnessed the highest polling percentage, somewhere more than 67%. So in this, the correct answer was A, that is the intelligence and character of ordinary men and women. So we understand that different questions have been asked on working of parliament, about election process, as well as about democracy. So on this note, the entire topic of election and election process becomes extremely important for your 2019 examination. Also because of the fact that yesterday the result for 17th Lok Sabha was announced, in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi again came back to power with a thumping majority. Now in our previous DNS videos, we have also covered these different topics related to election process. You can also refer to previous DNS videos to understand different topics covered by different people. So after understanding the importance of election in a democracy, let us move on to our next news discussion. The next news appears on page number 20. It says, study pinpoints source of ozone depleting gas. Emissions of banned chemical CFC11 traced to eastern China. Now CFC11 refers to chlorofluorocarbon 11. Now this news highlights about the compound CFC11 and mentions that as per a research, it is found that this particular compound or this particular gas has been emanating from China, specifically from its two heavily industrialized provinces. Now, CFC, that is chlorofluorocarbon, is a dangerous gas as it is a ozone depleting gas. Now, as per this news, this particular research which says that the CFC gas is emanating from China will add international pressure on China to curtail its CFC 11 emissions. Now, this particular news with respect to CFC emissions in your prelims examination becomes a part of general science as well as general issues on environmental ecology, biodiversity, and climate change. Further, in your mains, it gets covered under GS Paper 3, under Science and Technology, as well as under Conservation, Environmental Pollution, and Degradation. Now, CFC 11 is a class of chlorofluorocarbon which destroys atmospheric ozone, and CFC is a potent greenhouse gas. Now, greenhouse gases have the property of absorbing infrared radiation emitted from Earth's surface and also to re-radiate it back to Earth's surface, thereby contributing to the greenhouse effect, as heat is trapped within the atmosphere, where carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor are the most important greenhouse gases. However, surface level ozone, fluorinated gases, as well as nitrous oxides also traps infrared rays to a certain extent. So the CFC's 11 compound is also a potent greenhouse gases which has the property to absorb infrared radiation. Now the CFC 11 compound is used to manufacture aerosol sprays, blowing agent for foams, and is also used to manufacture solvents and refrigerants. So we understand that CFC 11, which is a potent greenhouse gas and is used to manufacture various products, also destroys atmospheric ozone. And the destruction of atmospheric ozone becomes a serious cause of concern because then it allows the ultraviolet rays to reach the Earth's surface, which has a harmful effect on human body. Now, ozone layer is mainly found in the stratosphere, which is about 20 to 30 kilometers from the Earth's surface. This ozone layer protects living things as well as humans from harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. Now, ozone depletion refers to the gradual thinning of Earth's ozone layer, and this is caused in the upper atmosphere by release of chemical compounds containing gaseous chlorine or bromine. Now, as you can see, this picture shows that how these chlorofluorocarbons depletes the ozone layer. Now, it says that chlorofluorocarbons are emitted and reach the ozone layer from the Earth's surface. Then what happens is that these CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, are then broken down by sun's ultraviolet rays and chlorine atoms are released into the ozone layer. So what happens is that after these chlorofluorocarbons reaches the stratosphere, which contains the ozone layer, then these chlorofluorocarbons are broken down by the sun's ultraviolet rays, and after which chlorine atoms are released into the ozone layer. Now, once these chlorine atoms are released in the atmosphere, this chlorine atom reacts with the ozone to form chlorine monoxide and oxygen. Further, the molecule of chlorine monoxide reacts with another molecule of oxygen and it breaks up, releasing chlorine in the atmosphere. Now, this chlorine released in the atmosphere reacts with another molecule of ozone in the atmosphere, creating a cyclic event or a sort of a chain reaction. Thus, chlorine released from these CFC compounds destroys ozone in a catalytic reaction, where roughly around 1 lakh molecules of ozone can be destroyed by per chlorine atom or by one chlorine atom. So after going through the entire chain reaction of chlorine with that of ozone, we understand that how harmful these chlorofluorocarbon compounds are for the depletion of ozone. And the loss of stratospheric ozone results in more harmful ultraviolet radiation reaching the Earth's surface. As more the ozone will deplete, more ultraviolet rays will reach the ground. Now, with respect to ozone depleting substances, you must remember about Vienna Convention as well as Montreal Protocol. Now, Vienna Convention was adopted in the year 1985, and this is a treaty on the framework for international cooperation concerning the protection of the ozone layer, whereas Montreal Protocol objective is to cut down the production and consumption of ozone depleting substances in order to reduce their presence in the atmosphere and thereby protecting the Earth's ozone layer. Now, the Montreal Protocol on ozone depleting substances was established in the year 1987. Now, a question on Montreal Protocol was asked by UPSC in the year 2015. The question was, which of the following is associated with the issue of control and phasing out of the use of ozone depleting substances? In this, the correct answer was Montreal Protocol. Now, another question was asked on infrared rays. The question was, the increasing amount of carbon dioxide in the air is slowly raising the temperature of the atmosphere because it absorbs. In this, the correct answer was the infrared part of the solar radiation. So we understand that questions on greenhouse gases as well as on Montreal Protocol has been asked by UPSC. So in this context, this particular news becomes extremely important to understand about the chlorofluorocarbons as well as Montreal Protocol. With this, let's move on to our next news discussion. The next news appears on page number 16. It says, women still underrepresented in science and technology. Most assume these subjects will not align with their desire to be creative as per UNESCO. Now, this particular news is based on UNESCO's report titled Cracking the Code: Girls and Women's Education in Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, that is STEM. This article highlights that women remain considerably underrepresented in the field of STEM, as they comprise of only 29% of the people involved in the scientific research and development. Now, this topic on underrepresentation of women in the field of STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics, in your prelims examination forms a part of social development, and your mains and your GS paper 2, it gets covered under social issues, particularly with respect to education and human resources. So the question is there a need to focus on women's and girls' education in the field of STEM? Now, to ensure that girls have equal participation in the field of STEM is not only a human rights perspective, but is also a scientific perspective which will further lead to their overall development. So, from a human rights perspective, all people are equal and should have equal opportunities, and this means that even girl and women should be encouraged to participate or pursue their field or pursue their career in the field of STEM. Further, girls should also be encouraged to study and work in the field of their choice. Further, from a scientific perspective, the inclusion of women promotes scientific excellence and also boosts the quality of STEM outcomes. As we all know that women have participated and contributed in various aspects of life, including research and development. Now, from a development perspective, gender equality in STEM will ensure that both men and women will be able to acquire skills and opportunities, and this will help both women and men not only to contribute equally but also to take benefit associated with such opportunities. So, this is why there must be a focus on girls and women's education in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, having said that, there are still certain factors leading to the underrepresentation of women in the field of STEM. These are psychological factors, family factors, school related factors, and societal factors. Now, with respect to psychological factors, gender stereotypes play a major role. Now, as per these gender stereotypes, it communicates the idea that STEM studies is only for men or only for boys and not for girls. So, this idea that STEM studies and careers are male dominated can have a negative impact on the girls' interest, engagement, as well as achievement in the field of STEM, and it will further discourage them from pursuing STEM careers. Now, at times, similar role is also played by family factors. Now, parents and their beliefs play a very important role in shaping the future of a girl child. Further, a parent's beliefs and ideas either generate interest in STEM studies or take away the interest of girl child away from the STEM studies. And particularly parents having traditional beliefs about gender roles and who treat girls and boys unequally can reinforce their negative stereotypes attitude about gender inequality and thereby can prevent the girl child from taking their careers in STEM studies. Now, another factor leading to underrepresentation of women in STEM studies is school related factors. Now, qualified teachers in the field of science and technology as well as mathematics can positively influence a girl's performance and engagement with STEM education. Further, this also helps the girl child in pursuing careers in the field of STEM. Female teachers in the field of STEM also act as a role model for the girl students in order to pursue a career in the field of STEM. Now, whether a girl takes up STEM careers also depends on different societal factors prevailing under different circumstances and in different countries. Now, it is noted that such countries which has greater gender equality, girls tend to have more positive attitudes and confidence about the field of STEM. However, such countries which do not have greater equality and greater freedom for women is generally noticed that girls in such countries do not take much interest in the field of STEM. And this effectively prevents the girl child from achieving their full potential in the field of STEM studies. So these can be said to be some of the factors which leads to underrepresentation of women in the field of science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Now, after our discussion, this forms your practice question for the mains. It says, is there a need to focus on girls and women's education in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics? Further, what are the factors which hinder equal participation of women in the field of STEM? So, after going through the discussion, I hope you'll be able to attend this particular question. So, with this, let's move on to our next news discussion. Now, the next news appears with respect to the Friday review section of the Hindu newspaper. The news to be discussed is with respect to Thumri as well as Odissi. Now, both these topics forms a part of art and culture. So, in your prelims examination, it gets covered under Indian history, and in your mains, it gets covered under GS paper 1, specifically with respect to Indian culture and salient aspects of art forms. Now, it mentions that in Hindustani music, there are 6 main forms of styles of singing and compositions. These are Dhrupad, Dhamar, Khayal, Tapa, Tarana, and Thumri. So, Thumri originated in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, mainly around Lucknow and Banaras in and around the 18th century. Now, Thumri is based on romantic devotional literature inspired by the Bhakti movement. And the text for Thumri is usually derived from Radha Krishna theme. Now, Thumri is supposed to be a romantic style of singing and is also associated with the lyric of Indian classical music. And Thumri is generally in a light or semi-classical form and represents the ups and downs in the journey of relationship. And the song compositions are mostly of love, separation, and devotion. So these can be said to be some of the important facts with respect to Thumri, which is considered to be one of the 6 forms of styles of singing and composition of the Hindustani music. Now, moving on with respect to Odissi, it says classical dances recognized by the Government of India are Bharatnatyam, Kathakali, Kuchipudi, Kathak, Manipuri, Odissi, Satariya, as well as Mohiniyattam. Odissi represents the dance of love and passion and touches both the divine as well as the human. It further highlights that Odissi is one of the oldest surviving dance form of India on the basis of certain archaeological evidences. This particular dance, that is Odissi, is characterized by various bhangas or stans. And these various bhangas are represented by stamping of the foot and striking various postures. The common bhangas are bhang, abhang, atibhang, and tribhang. It further highlights that the techniques of body movements are built around 2 basic postures of chalk and tribhang. With respect to chalk, it says that chalk is a position imitating a square or a very masculine stance with the weight of the body equally balanced, and tribhang is a feminine stance where the body is deflected at neck, torso, and knees. So chalk is a very masculine stance, whereas tribhang is a feminine stance where the body is deflected at the neck, torso, and the knees. So these are the basic facts with respect to Odissi. Now the Odissi tradition existed in three schools. First, Mahari, Gotipua, and Nartaki. On Mahari, it says that Maharis were the Odiya Devadasis or temple girls, and their name derived from the word Maha, that is great, and Nari, that is woman, chosen particularly those at the temple of Jagannath at Puri. Now, on Gotipua, it says that Gotipuas were boys dressed up as girls and taught the dance by the Maharis. And on Nartaki, the Nartaki dance took place in royal courts. So these can be said to be the three schools where the Odissi tradition existed. So in this news analysis, you must remember about Thumri as well as Odissi. Now after a discussion, these forms your practice question for the day. What you can do is to take a pause of 5 seconds. The first question says, which of the following can be said to be the duties of the Prime Minister of India as per the Indian Constitution? First, to communicate to the President all decisions of the Council of Ministers relating to the administration of the affairs of the Union. Yes, the statement is correct. Second, to furnish to the President all proposals for the legislation. Yes, the statement is also correct, and both these can be found in Article 78 of the Indian Constitution. So in this, the correct answer is C, that is both 1 and 2. The next question says, which of the following can be said to be greenhouse gases? Options are water vapor, carbon dioxide, ozone, and methane. As we have studied that all these are greenhouse gases as they trap infrared rays. So in this, the correct answer is D, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now these two forms your practice question number 3 and practice question number 4. What you can do is to take a pause of another 5 seconds. The question says, consider the following statements. First, CFC depletes ozone in the stratosphere. Yes, the statement is correct. Second, ultraviolet rays of the sun breaks down CFCs resulting in release of chlorine atom. Yes, this is also correct as we have already seen. Third, chlorine atoms so released do not react with ozone. No, the chlorine atom which is then released again reacts with ozone, and this forms a sort of a chain reaction. So in this, the third statement becomes incorrect. So here the correct answer is 1 and 2, that is A. Question number 4 says, consider the following statements about Thumri. Options are, it is one of the styles of singing and composition of Hindustani music. Yes, the statement is correct. Second, it originated in eastern coast of Tamil Nadu. No, the statement is incorrect as it originated in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. Third, its lyrics represents romantic style of singing including ups and downs in the journey of relationship. Yes, this statement is also correct. So in this, the correct answer is 1 and 3 only. So here, the correct answer is C. With this, we come to an end to discussion of today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.